I see the Casey drama on Twitter yesterday after the series. Well, it's kind of hard to miss, right? It's all over Twitter. Not really sure what I'm supposed to say. I don't know what... Like, to me, it's pointless to give my opinion on this drama because, again, I am not part of Casey. I don't know what goes on in their team. Why would I flame any player or flame any staff? The reality is that I just don't know who is at fault or whatever. I can only judge that, their gameplay is off and... Yeah, I mean, that's why they lost. I don't know what I'm supposed to say, Obviously, all the toxicity targeted towards Vlad is pretty insane, right? And it's a good thing he deleted Twitter because there's no point reading that shit, right? If you're a player. But yeah, he's a target. He's the public target. Usually a team always has a scapegoat, and for Casey, currently it's Vladi. Average esports fan will only also look at the stats of a player in game. If a player goes 1-7, he's the one solo losing, according to fans. Yeah, 100%. People judge how well players play usually by KDA, right? And KDA doesn't show you the whole story. People also usually tend to remember you by your last performance. So if you have, for example, 10 months of playing excellent, but then you have one series at the end of the year where you play badly, then people are only gonna remember the series you play badly, right? That's life of an esports player. My perspective on Casey versus Fnatic, which happened yesterday, and Casey lost, right? Just gonna go through drafts without really going through game, because the game is gonna take too long. But going through drafts, let's go game by game just to see like which team, in my opinion, was favoring the draft here. So first game, we open up with bans. So first of all, what's very important is they're playing patch 25.18, and 25.18 is the patch where, for example, Yunara isn't nerfed, and Azir isn't nerfed, and stuff like that. So these champions are really OP. That's why you see Yunara and Azir banned from that set, which makes total sense. And Pope is also really strong, right? This was a very strong champ too. From blue side, I guess we have a Sivir ban, a Jarvan ban, and a Rumble ban. My assumption is that they have a plan to first pick Orianna, which is why they're banning Rumble so the enemy doesn't take it away, because both teams play Rumble, and then they ban Jarvan to empower the Orianna, because Orianna is really weak into Jarvan, and then Sivir might just be a ban maybe for 4 or 5 already set up, I'm not sure. I don't think teams usually blind Sivir first 3, but you can. Sivir is one of the blind ADCs this patch because she's unnerfed. So we're gonna see now that first we open with Ori, enemy responds with Wukong Galio. So Wukong Galio is kind of like the new Jarvan Galio or the new Vi Galio, whatever you want. It's a bruiser jungler who kind of like has some CC disruption. Galio will then works really well, and then Galio people match into Orianna. The reason why people match Galio into Orianna is because Galio is really good at surviving lane against Orianna, because Orianna is basically the new Rumble / Victor of mid lane. She just basically, people draft her because she doesn't lose lane. But she scales not too well in my opinion, and she also deals really badly with tanks, and Galio is a tank. Even if you go AP Galio, you're still a tank, and Orianna cannot kill tanks. So Wukong is also kind of like a half tank because all items he buys are bruiser items, which all give him HP. So Orianna already sucks against 2 champions here, which is I just don't agree with Orianna priority that everyone is doing across the world. It's just bad. Now here's something that Casey does that I really dislike. They pick Varus. I think Varus is an alpha champion that should never be drafted currently on this patch especially. Varus's option to build him lethality is completely gone from the game. So no matter what, when you draft Varus, you have to go on-hit Varus. The champion has no survivability, no escape, right? So we're just drafting on-hit Varus here against Galio Wukong. So they already have like hard engage, and they're probably going to pick more hard engage. Okay, so if we want to play a short-range ADC without escape, then picking Aphelios would just be 3 times better because it's just a stronger version of Varus. It has the same weakness, but the upside is that the damage potential is like 3 times higher than Varus. So this to me doesn't make any sense. Xin Zhao, I think, is just a worse version of a worse champion of Wukong, just in terms of Shanks. So here's another loss for KC. Fnatic just locks in Kaisa because she works well with Engage Comp. She's a really good synergy with Galio. They're gonna draft more CC. She's gonna have constant plasma stacks this game. We go 4-5, Renata and Nautilus ban. So they ban Renata because Fnatic wants to commit to a 5 melee probably draft, and Renata is like the champ that pairs well with Varus, and she kind of like her ult gains the same value in this case. Okay, I get it. Naut ban is probably just maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure why Naut ban, because you should realistically be picking maybe, I mean, depends if they want to pick support on 4 or not. But in any case, in my opinion, Braum is just scarier than Naut in any case, so you should just be banning Braum if you want to blind the melee support here, so I don't get a Naut ban. It doesn't particularly synergize really well with this team comp. It would make more sense you ban Naut when they have like a Talia or something. Okay, the enemy team banned Rakan and Nico. Rakan is like a fine blind. You ban that. Nico has synergy with Kai'Sa, sure. Don't like the champ, but okay, I kind of get the point of the bans. We have Alistar blind on 4, so now the only response the KC has is Braum. It's the only champ that fits the draft, and then they have to blind the top laner, which normally in this case is like Ambassa or something, because that champ's turbo OP. But instead they go Cassandra, and then Fnatic has an easy Ambassa angle. Ambassa is basically the new, like if you play Wukong Ambassa, it's kind of the same as playing Vi Ambassa, and then Vi Ambassa used to be countered like a few months ago in Winter Split when people were playing that. So you're playing, Ambassa is also really insane here for Fnatic, right? Because you're playing against Ori Varus, like Ambassa is just gonna ult and murder you. So in my opinion, this is a harder draft for Fnatic. This draft is mega winning for Fnatic. Actually, I saw someone linked me that apparently KC coach said in an interview that the draft is fine, but because they have 2 winning lanes and a winning jungle matchup. But that's not even true. Xin is not a winning jungle matchup, and you have slightly winning, you have basically slightly winning bot, slightly winning mid, and slightly winning top, maybe, arguably, sure, but this lane leads don't translate anything in League of Legends. Like, come on. The game is decided in shakes and past laning phase. There's lane swaps in the game. 10 CS lead on Galio doesn't do anything. 10 CS lead on Kai'Sa doesn't do anything. It just doesn't matter. Like, you're not gonna win this game by lane leads. I mean, that draft is like, I would say like 80-20 maybe. I don't know. It's just a bad draft. Game number 2. Fnatic is again on red side, same as before. They stick with the same bans. KC bans Pantheon this time. Track. So, wait, Pantheon went through game 1. I think, okay, I didn't realize this. Pantheon is obviously very OP in this patch still. It is absolutely illegal to draft Xin over Pantheon. I'll just add that really fast because Pantheon is like 2 times stronger champ than Xin on a patch like this. Now, Pantheon gets banned, Naut gets banned. So they keep banning, I mean, no KC bans Naut. I'm not sure why the reason for Naut ban is, and then Lucian. I don't know. Weird bans. In my opinion, these are completely wasted bans. You should be looking to pick Pantheon, if anything. But I guess they pick Pantheon because they don't want to trade, right? Is what I'm assuming. So they want to get Rumble, but they don't want to give them Pantheon. Okay. We go to draft, we pick Rumble, which is like very strong pick. And it's, you know, both teams prioritize it really hard, so they pick it away. Makes sense. Enemy team responds with Taliyah and Vi, which is a very generic standard team combo. I don't think each champ is like particularly very strong, but it works. This is, I think, before Taliyah nerf, so she's a little bit better on this patch. KC responds with Jarvan, which I like. Jarvan is a strong champ, and Ezreal, which I don't like. Ezreal makes no sense. This champion is trash. Statistically speaking, the worst state Ezreal has been in many months. I don't know how many pro play games we have to look at where Ezreal just does absolutely nothing. This champ does no damage. I already know what their reasoning for picking it. The reasoning for picking it is he wants to play an escape ADC. Okay, sure, I agree. You cannot go Ezreal though. You have to here pivot into Smolder or Zari or Tristana or something along those lines, which are escape ADCs that are much stronger than Ezreal. But Ezreal is in theory safer blind, whatever. Blinding for lane doesn't exist in current version of League because people lane swap anyway. Fnatic picks Zari, so if, yeah, Zari is okay here again. They pick an escape ADC, obviously because the enemy has Jarvan Rumble. Okay, Zari is a completely fine pick. Okay, so they went Aurora for Rumble specifically, which is interesting. I didn't know people still play Aurora top lane. It is unnerfed Aurora or like unchanged Aurora in this patch. And then Fnatic bans with Nico, which I think is not particularly a necessary ban. Rel ban, just generic. And now KC, Rakan is here open. Rakan has to be banned, right? So they ban Rel. They force a Rakan ban because Fnatic would just pick Rakan on 4. Okay. Totally get what this is happening, and now San is open. San is a monster pick here. Casey is probably thinking, well, Rumble is in theory good into Sion. Not really. Like, Sion is like the best tank into Rumble. The second best tank is probably Ornn, which people play, but Sion is just like 3 times stronger champ than Ornn, so Sion pick is really insane because Ezreal is also terrible into Sion so far. Like, and what mid laner are you gonna draft that's gonna kill Sion this game? Like, Sion will just be unkillable already. Like, so we're picking Yon. Okay, that's a champ that is pretty decent into Sion. But again, the problem with Yon is that Yon is just in a bad state as a champion. Like, if he was in a decent state, he would be actually a good pick here, but he's just in a bad state in general. He needs way too much gold. He needs like 3 items to become a champ. It takes way too long to get him. He's way too weak early. You can't really contest Dragon's Grubs early with the champ. Like, but I do think it fits the team comp. I just think the champions they're drafting are like B tier. That's the problem. Like, they just don't draft strong champions. We blind Lona. So it seems like Fnatic has really set up a really nice trap here. This is really, really, really good drafting here, I do have to admit, because with all the supports being out, right? The only melee support that is in the game here is like Leona and Blitz. But if you pick Leona, people don't normally like play Blitz into Leona because it's like bad, right? The thing that happens here is that Fnatic now has like two options, right? The most normal option is to just pick a range support and play, which is really good with Sari, right? Like something like Lulu would be totally fine here. That Fnatic has a player called Mickey X that has pocket pick Taric, right? And this is exactly what happens. It's a Taric angle. It's like the only player in the world, kinda, that plays Taric, and this is obviously insane Taric spot because it completely hard counters the entire KC draft. And it's actually a good 2v2 bottom matchup. Yeah, like just the bans are perfectly set up because KC walks exactly into the Taric trap. Like if your player plays Taric, this is just the best Taric spot ever. I mean, this is just brutal. Like, and this Taric pick, I think, just makes the draft hard winning again for Fnatic. I think this is another brutal outdraft. So now the sides are actually the same. So it seems like KC keeps losing, but they keep choosing blue side anyway. Okay. That kind of makes sense, right? Because patch 25.18, you have like a lot of power picks on blue, so enemy team has kind of log bans from red. Like, I kind of get that part. So Fnatic is banning almost identical. They only changed the Rise ban from Poppy ban to Rise ban, which I am surprised about a little bit. KC, I'm not sure why they're still banning Pantheon from blue. At this point, just force them to ban Pantheon or get a power pick. I don't know why you keep banning that. Xayah ban, I don't really understand. Maybe they're thinking, well, Rakan is still open and they could Xayah Rakan 1-2, so they don't want to let them get that. Okay, maybe that's why Xayah ban, but might as well ban Rakan at that point. Why are we banning Xayah? Just ban Rakan. Any ban doesn't make any sense. I know this is not a patch where any is nerfed, but I just think the champ is vastly overrated, so... Maybe their mindset here is that Poby is only playing like CC / empower mid lane champions like Galio, and Annie is like one of them, right? He just wants to like empower and play the CC bot for his team. So maybe that's why they're thinking Annie ban. Anyway, how does KC reply here? So for example, Poppy is open, you could just opt into Poppy first pick, right? Instead, they go for Victor, which is not a power pick in any shape or form. This is not a power pick. So Fnatic's plan is to draft TF, which I also think is a quite bad champion. And then they draft Corki, which is a completely fine 1-2. Very safe, not nerfed in this patch, completely fine pick. But yeah, TF in general, the problem the champ has is just that it got nerfed, right? And it just doesn't really do anything. It goes even in lane. It doesn't really do any damage. It's just a gold card bot. People can buy like Mikael or Gomerix. His damage just falls off a cliff. And people in pro play don't really like die to ultimate because it's like a slow game and people group out objectives, so he can't really get the same value out of ult that he does in solo queue. What do we draft? We draft Sivir, which is like a completely fine pick into Corki, and it's like a pretty strong pick on this patch and has special for TF card. The way they're seeing this is Alistar's banned, so Sivir is also stronger because of that, and then they pick now to lose, but actually no, I forgot, Rel is open, so the Node pick doesn't make any sense. Actually, never mind. I was trying to like justify their reasoning, and actually the reasoning sucks. So far I would say the Rel pick is happier, the Sivir Corgi pick are pretty equal in power, the Victor pick I probably like more than TF. I'm not a big fan of TF so far. The draft at least doesn't seem to be one-sided towards Fnatic yet. Fnatic decides to ban tanks, Skarner being one of them, which I actually think makes some sense because champions like TF are really bad against Skarner. Really, really bad. Like Skarner becomes complete Thanos when you draft it into no damage team comp. So the Poppy ban, I'm not sure about because not a lot of dashes, but she is good into Rel and Corki, and she would be a good jungle pick. So actually, the bans are pretty good. The problem is that there are more tanks that Fnatic can draft if KC can draft here. And then the other side goes Nocturne ban. So Nocturne TF like global comp ban maybe, and they have some immobiles. Okay, sure, and then Jace ban for top lane. Okay. So most of AD junglers are out, and with TF you do wanna play a bruiser at AD damage champion because TF you cannot play him with a tank. So I think the pick is actually fine. We go now to KC side, the draft Jax, which is really good because it's really good into most of these champs. I like the Jax pick, and then Maokai, which I think is also a pretty good pick. Yeah, I don't hate Maokai here. I think it's good. And then Fnatic replies with Gragas. So Gragas Jax matchup, not that favorable for Gragas anymore these days because Jax W goes through Gragasy. I personally like KC's draft slightly more here, just because I think this comp will completely outscale the right comp really fast. I think they have completely fine lanes. They have solid champs kind of everywhere. Okay, so we are in game 4 now, and because Fnatic lost last game, they decided to be blue side. So now the problem is that KC will probably have a lot of log bans from red side, right? Azir and Yunara being 2 of them. Pantom, for example, is also a power pick still in this series. I'm not sure if teams are thinking about this, but... So Nico ban is because most of supports are out, and now people are thinking that Nico is like a high priority. I disagree with this personally, but I understand I understand where they're coming from. The Cassiopeia ban makes no sense to me. This is not a power pick. She's not buffed on this patch. She's not good into Ryze. Completely overrated matchup. So maybe they're trying to bait them into thinking that they're gonna first pick Ryze or something. Why are we banning Annie on red side? This is not a power pick in 2025. Pantheon ban, okay. So Fnatic is looking for a different first pick, so they probably ban Pantheon so they don't... And surely you ban Yunara out, no. What the fuck are we smoking? Who even plays Caitlyn? This is not drafted by any pro team. She's not even buffed, and the buff is placebo anyway, it doesn't do anything. We're giving Yunara, statistically speaking, by far the most broken champion in the game. Together with a 0 on this patch. We're giving it. So, okay, look at this. So, the pick Rakan, the only melee support left open that is a solid blind. Okay, I understand that. The problem is that the Rakan pick is not going to be good. And the reason why it's not going to be good is because now Fnatic can just go Lulu. Because Lulu has such insane synergy with Yunara. And Lulu is good into Rakan. The Rakan pick would make sense if Yunara is not open, because then it's much harder to do a really strong Lulu pairing. Okay, they pick Poppy. I really like, because Poppy doesn't even have to go support here. She can go support, but she can just be a fine jungle pick here, and it will completely block Rakan from the game. So I like the Poppy pick. And then we have Aurora as a response to Ryze, which is fine. It's their preference what they want to play into Ryze. I can't complain about that. And now we have a Zaya. I think Yunara with a pairing beats Zarakan any day of the week. So I think Yunara is just stronger in this case. So we go into 4-5. We're banning Bard. Surely we ban Lulu with this comp. Like, this is just a perfect Lulu angle. I think Yorick ban actually makes sense in my opinion, because when you look at this comp, it is kind of like a 1-3-1 comp, so maybe there's some sense here. And if they go like Poppy jungle and Aurora mid, these are champions that don't deal with Yorick well, so Yorick ban, I kind of do understand so far. Jace ban, yeah, this is just Kana's champ, right? Jace, green on top, okay. How do we finish up the draft here? Aatrox. Why? Terrible. Terrible. Terrible Aatrox spot. Terrible. Aatrox into Poppy, into mobile ADC, mobile mid laner. Like, this champion will not be able to do anything this game. Everybody's gonna kite him. He won't be able to land Qs. W will be a useless spell. The champ will scale, and you're about to get counterpicked by whatever. Some champions that are better here. Cho'Gath. Let me roll it back. First of all, you should always pick jungle on 4 here, because last pick in jungle in drafting is completely troll. Personally, I think Lulu is way better, but Renata also kind of works, is how I feel. So Gwen is nerfed on this patch. The thing is that Gwen here is picked against a B-tier top laner. So she will probably just get away with like having a free game, because Aatrox is just a terrible champion. I think the Ivern pick is, now that I look at the team comp, it probably is one of the best picks you can do here. The Aatrox is just a horrible pick. That's like the weakest point about KC draft, I think. The bot lane, Zarakan, is very bad this game, because you got completely demolished by Yunara plus whatever support that's ranged. That is like the main issue here with KC draft, and I think they do get out-drafted here by a little bit as well. From my POV, every game, the team that had the better draft won in this series.